college football fans, and thanks for joining us for this week's edition of Extra Points, a collaboration between Delphi Bracketology and Student Union Sports. This week we're going to start off with some of the greatest moments from the previous weeks. Some of these moments include Iowa's big upset over Ohio State, the comeback, the back and forth win between Penn State and Michigan State, with Michigan State coming out on top and handing Penn State their second straight loss. And with that, we look forward to one of the games we have of interest. Jordan?
Michigan State versus Ohio State. I'm going to have to take Michigan State because they are on a roll and are looking to get in the top 10. Georgia versus Auburn is going to be a good game, with Georgia trying to remain in the top 4 playoff contention and Auburn trying to stay in the top 25. It's going to be good, but I'm going to have to take Georgia in this one. And Oklahoma versus TCU is going to be a great game, with Oklahoma trying to get back in the top 4 and with TCU trying to too. But I will take Baker Mayfield and the Sooners in this one.
Sounds like you can't go wrong with those picks. Now we send it over to Joe Perry, who is covering this year's NCAA playoffs. Take it away, Joe.
Hi, this is Joe Perry, and I have your college football playoff analysis. Last week, the first edition of the college football playoffs came out, led by Georgia, Alabama, Notre Dame, and Clemson. I don't see that mixing up any this week, however, there might be a flip-flop of Georgia and Alabama, as Alabama picked up their first top 25 win against LSU. As for the rest of the top 10, things are sure to be shaken up, as losses came to Big Ten juggernauts Ohio State and Penn State. However, there are also big wins coming to teams such as Miami, Oklahoma, and Clemson. However, now we're going to move on to undefeated Wisconsin. I don't see them getting into the playoff. They're currently undefeated. However, they have a weak schedule, and in their next coming weeks, the toughest team they play is Michigan. As for the Big Ten Big Ten championship, they play the winner of Ohio State or Michigan State, most likely. And neither one of those teams are as strong as some of the other teams that we're talking about here, like Oklahoma. They have multiple big wins, and so does all 4 of those teams in the current top 4. Back to you guys.
Thanks. That was some great stuff, Joe. And it's sad Wisconsin isn't even getting a chance to prove themselves. If they are waiting to get in, they better find a way to win the Big Ten, or it might be night-night for Wisconsin.
Yeah, I have to agree. This whole Wisconsin thing is leaving a big gap to be filled in the college football rankings, with big wins and loses coming from big name teams.
Now we come to the time in our show where Jameson Connor updates us on the Heisman race. Let's see what he has to say.
A crazy day of college football led to some movement in the top 5 of the Heisman race. Baker Mayfield returned to the number 1 spot by passing for 598 yards and throwing 5 touchdown passes in Oklahoma's win over Oklahoma State. Saquon Barkley fell to number 2 after Penn State's second consecutive loss, but still has the potential of winning the trophy. Khalil Tate at number 3 proved he was a real deal as he rallied the Wildcats to a 22-point comeback victory. Bryce Love slid to number 4 in Stanford's loss to Washington State. Despite an average performance this week, Josh Adams stayed in the top 5. Back to you guys.
Who will win the Heisman? Heck, with all the crazy stuff going on, who knows? What about you, Evan?
The race has taken a drastic turn, with Barkley losing his number 1 spot to Baker Mayfield, having a giant game and putting up a huge stat line against Oklahoma State.
Hi, this is Catherine Lang with this week's Questionable Call. In the Big Ten Game of the Week, Michigan State pulled off upset, beating Penn State 27-24. Penn State had a 4th and 3 with 4 minutes left on Michigan State's 31-yard line. They opted to throw the ball, which was incomplete, and turned it over on downs, which led to the game-winning drive by Michigan State moments later. Penn State has one of the, if not the best running back in college football, and they do not feed him with the game on the line. I do not know what Penn State was thinking, but it ended up to be costly.
Wow, what is Penn State thinking? Why not give it to Barkley and see what he can do in the pressure?
Yeah, I have to agree with Jordan. Not looking to your biggest playmaker doesn't make very much sense. Maybe they're running Pete Carroll's playbook. Who knows?
Now we hand it off to Mr. Gilbert and Jane Roth with this week's Game of the Week.
Thanks, guys. Notre Dame and Miami renew their rivalry this weekend, and college football fans hope they can recreate the excitement of the famous Catholic versus Convicts game of 1988. Notre Dame's offense was functioning on all cylinders in its 48-37 victory over Wake Forest, despite star running back Josh Adams leaving the game after the first quarter. Quarterback Brandon Wimbush picked up the slack, throwing for a career-high 280 yards, rushing for 110 yards, and totaling 3 touchdowns. Wimbush is not usually counted on to throw that much because the Irish are 5th in the nation in rushing at 324 yards a game, led by Adams, who has rushed for nearly 1,200 yards. The Irish defense will have to improve its effort on the road after giving up 587 yards of offense to Wake Forest. Miami may want to avoid throwing to whichever side of the field cornerback Julian Love is on because he has 3 interceptions and 4 passes broken up already this season. I expect the huge Irish offensive line to control the line of scrimmage against the Hurricanes and grind out a close win in Miami, keeping their playoff hopes alive. What do you have for us on Miami, Jaden?
Miami is rolling right now after a big win over the 13th-ranked Virginia Tech Hokies. The Canes' defense came in big while holding the Hokies to 102 rushing yards and 197 passing yards for 299 total yards, 147 below their average. The Canes, who came in the week 4th in the nation in sacks and 3rd in tackles for loss, had 4 sacks and 8 tackles for loss. On the other hand, the Miami offense was exploding against the Hokies, with 429 total yards, with 210 being passing and 219 rushing. The choices that Malik Roser was making with the ball could cost them, though, with 3 interceptions against the Hokies. I look forward to this game. It's going to be a good one.
Sounds like this is going to be a great game, with Miami looking to keep a 0 loss column and Notre Dame looking to keep one of the top spots in the NCAA playoffs. I'm going to have to go with Miami with a 10-point win over Notre Dame. Jordan?
I would have to agree with you when I think Miami is really good, and don't forget about the turnover chain. They are going to be looking to swing around. Now we send it off to our traditions of the week with Mr. Tonsoni.
Hello everyone, I'm here to talk a little bit of the traditions from the University of Miami. Starting in 1973, they coined the U. A fundraising arm of the athletic department commissioned a local public relations expert to develop a distinctive logo. The university had gone several years with a variety of helmet designs and uniform changes, and they wanted to have a central logo. So Miami designer Bill Bodenheimer suggested the U, which led to itself slogans like "You've got to believe" and "You is great." In 2009, the university adopted the split U logo that you see. So you'll see a famous alum and you'll see famous athletes always flashing the U. The traditional hurricane smoke entrance in the Orange Bowl began in 1950. And in an attempt to increase fan interest, the University of Miami Transportation Director, Bob Nalete, came up with the idea of using fire extinguishers to provide smoke as the players ran out from the tunnel. In his spare time 40 years ago, Nalete welded the pipe together that even today billows smoke as the Miami Hurricane players run out. So this weekend, when Notre Dame visits Miami in a traditional rivalry, you'll see a lot of this and a lot of smoke. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Mr. Tonsoni. Sounds like it's going to be a rowdy crowd down in Florida.
Now we send it off for a traveling report to Garrett Thompson.
Junior Garrett Thompson here, reporting with Bracketology Game Day, where they sent me all the way down to Miami, Florida, where the undefeated Hurricanes look to knock the Irish season off course and send them back to Indiana with a loss. So being down here has been great. The food, the music fill the air. The weather is nice and warm, and we're looking for a great game down in South Beach this week. Thank you. Back to the studio.
Stay safe down there. Don't need to be losing a reporter to the wind or the ocean.
And here's Michael Benner and Jonas Brown for our top players on the field and in class.
Hello, everybody. This week we're doing a new segment called Top Players on the Field and Off the Field in the Classroom. And my name's Jonas Brown.
And this is Michael Benner.
And we're going to start with the Heisman candidates. Baker Mayfield has a 3.06 GPA, and he's from Oklahoma.
Our next is David Moore, who is from Memphis, and he has a GPA of 3.99.
Shaquan Barkley has a GPA over 3.0, and he's from Penn State. And Bryce Love is got a GPA over 3.0, and he's from Stanford.
Back to you guys.
It's great to see that academics come first for a lot of the game's best players. I'm glad to see that athletes are trying to break the stereotype of poor students with their hard work in the classrooms.
Okay, here's Elijah and Joe Lammers with our best college mascot.
I think the best college mascot is Osceola and Renegade from Florida State. No other mascot puts on a show like this duo does. A man dresses up as a Seminole and rides a horseback bareback and throws a spear into the ground at midfield.
It sure is hard to beat a horse. However, I think that Florida's mascot, or should I say mascots, are better. Nothing plays Florida like Albert and Alberto Gator.
Sounds like some very enthusiastic mascots to get the crowd into the game. Now here is the hot and cold segment for Colt Spangler.
Thanks, guys. It's Cole here with your hot and cold segment for this team for this week in college football. The hot team goes to the Miami Hurricanes and their stellar defense. They're hotter than the polar bear in southern Africa. The cold team goes to the Penn State Nittany Lions, who have lost 2 straight games, and their Heisman hopeful, Saquon Barkley, has not been the untouchable figure that he'd been in the past few weeks. They are colder than the Michigan's hope for playoff spot. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Colt, for that great segment. With a great performance from Miami this year and Michigan's falling off the face of the earth after their huge loss to Michigan State. For next week, we want viewers to pick some new topics that you want us to talk about. So leave that in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more extra points. See you next week.